Good evening. All right, I'd like to call the governing board meeting of Wednesday, August 28th to order. It is 6:30. Lisa, can you do roll call?
Robert Downey. Patty Coutray.
Present.
Tori Anderson.
Present.
Anne Marie Knorr.
Present.
Carolyn Lopez.
Present.
Thank you. And we have some special guests in the audience, so I'd like to ask Principal Serfanic and the students from Santa Rosa to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you. All right, I'd like to move on to the next item, adoption of the agenda.
Motion to approve as written.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Lisa, roll call.
Carolyn Lopez.
Aye.
Anne Marie Knorr.
Aye.
Tori Anderson.
Aye.
Patty Coutray.
Aye. All right. Now we're to the superintendent's report. Dr. Lotman.
Thank you, Vice President Coutray. The first episode this year of our podcast, Inside MUSD, for the 2024-25 school year is now available on iTunes, Spotify, and our website. In this episode, CFO Jacob Harmon and I take a deep dive into the facts of the MUSD bond Proposition 488. We know our voters have a choice, and it's important to know how this bond impacts our schools and community. I encourage everyone to give it a listen. For years, MUSD has partnered with a local agency to provide essential food packs for our students. However, just before the school year began, we learned that this partner could no longer continue their support. MUSD staff quickly partnered with Maricopa Pantry and Jim Schoaf to create Hope Boxes filled with shelf-stable items. Thanks to this collaboration, each school, including Maricopa Virtual Academy, received 40 Hope Boxes, ensuring our students had the support they needed. In July, we shared exciting news about our AP program's exceptional results. Recently, we caught up with graduates, including Joseph Rusinello, Timothy Rusinello, Aaron Hildick, Haley Raphael, and Ariana Baeda, who described how their AP capstone courses at Maricopa High School prepared them for college and their careers. As Haley Raphael put it, "I don't know where I'd be without AP research and AP seminar." These courses not only helped her understand her learning style, but also helped her develop the study habits that set her up for future success. We have a quick video of another graduate's story. Take a look.
I am a rising junior at Duke University. I grew up in Maricopa, Arizona. I'm looking forward to becoming a physician who also spends her time in the lab researching diseases. As of right now, I'm really interested in neurodegenerative diseases. I think the AP classes have contributed significantly to preparing me for college, especially at a school like Duke University. It's really rigorous and fast-paced. I think they introduced to me the foundational skills I needed to learn how to study and understand my own learning style and how does that work in conjunction with the teacher, as well as giving me the knowledge to be prepared for those entry-level classes my freshman year. And specifically, my AP seminar class in the capstone program is what introduced me to research from the beginning when I was a junior in high school. And that's kind of how I fell in love with research and why going into college I immediately pursued finding a lab and getting started with research and hands-on work. And from there, I still use the skills I learned in that class to this day, not just the writing skills and the researching itself, but learning how to be analytical and curious, and as well as critical, and make sure to look at different perspectives, especially if you're working with data, and how can you apply that, especially in a scientific lens.
So that was like I said, a Maricopa High School graduate. And that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Lotman. All right, governing board member reports. Member Lopez.
You have to excuse me. I got new glasses and I'm not used to this yet. So I was able to go tour a couple schools last week, Friday. It's all blending together. I was able to see 2 new schools, one that was built from the ground up and then one that was a remodel. And they were absolutely fascinating to me. I love where schools are going, what the technology, the architect, everything about it just tickled my brain so much. So I had a lot of fun. I won't go into too much detail with that. I had a blast seeing all the different stuff about it. I did go to Maricopa Wells girls volleyball game as well last week, and they rock. I am so proud of that. I told Mr. Miller, I need a t-shirt and maybe some pom-poms, something. Parents like, who are you? I'm by myself on the bleachers. It was awesome. I look forward to going to all of our school sports. That was the first one I could get to, and we're at the beginning of the year. So if you see me there, that's what I'm doing. Other than that, I don't remember. Was there anything else? I think that was it, right? That's it.
Thank you. Member Knorr?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Member Anderson?
Thank you, Ms. Cotray. So it's been, as you know, school started. Everyone's crazy, super busy. I want to remind everybody to please slow down around the school zones. Our kiddos need to be very, very cautious as well. Just cars are bigger than you, so please be very cautious. Precious lives are out there, so please be careful. And then it's been a crazy week on top of that. So first of the week, I participated in Dignity Healthcare's strategic plan, which was quite interesting, seeing what their health concerns are and narrowing it down to the top 5 that we see across the valley. So it was it was very eye-opening for me. I had never been anything in that quite a large scope. So that was quite interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then did tour the schools on Friday, which was an eye-opener. People wonder how we can put preschool to 8th grade on one campus. It's done very well. And talk about really doing and creating a sense of community was amazing. I mean, these kiddos were incredible. I mean, everybody took care of everybody. And these were large schools. So I'm excited to see what we can do as a community and get our community involved in planning that process, because we're growing, and hopefully we're definitely going to put some schools in. And then over the weekend, I had the opportunity to participate in a suicide prevention fundraiser, and it was benefiting Solari, which we also, as a school district, participate with them. But mental health is a huge impact on our society. And so, Solari it's a free organization, but they certainly help with the mental health. They have toll-free numbers, and they do have something which I wasn't even aware of. It's called a warm line, which means it's peer-to-peer. So you can talk to somebody who is your same age situation, and I thought that was quite interesting. You can text HOPE. You can also text 988, which is the national hotline. You can do that anytime, 24/7. And then there is our, our toll-free, which is 844-534-HOPE. So talk to somebody because you're important to us. So, and that's what I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. I, too, was able to tour all of the schools on Friday and just co-sign with what my fellow board members shared with you. We have an amazing opportunity to build some really dynamic learning spaces for our students, but it needs to have that bond to go with it if we want them to have that wonderful learning experience and not cement floors, no ceilings, and block walls, which I don't think anybody wants to go to. So again, make sure that you get that information regarding our bond. It's very specific to just building our schools, renovating high school learning spaces. It's not for programs. It's not for staffing. So there's two different pots of money, and I think that's something that we can share with our neighbors and our community so that they understand the difference, and just encourage them to invest in our students. So that's all I have. So let's move on to our information study. We have our first classroom spotlight of the year with Santa Rosa Elementary, Principal Serfanic and her special guests.
Good evening, Vice President Cotray, board members, and Dr. Lopman. I'm here tonight to spotlight the Santa Rosa Dual Language Program and how we bridge content in instruction. This presentation aligns to Goal 1, every student graduates, focusing on the strategy of educating the whole child with a gold standard signature program. In the dual language program, students become effective communicators and resilient achievers who are determined, have grit, and persevere through academic challenges. These skills directly align with Maricopa's portrait of graduate. In 2021, we began the dual language implementation journey in preschool and kindergarten. We started with a team of 4, 2 English teachers and 2 Spanish teachers, refining and adding a team every year as a new grade level was added. This year, we're up to 3rd grade. The Spanish language classroom focuses on Spanish language arts, math, and science. The English language classroom focuses on English language arts, including spalding and writing, along with social studies. The Santa Rosa dual language model runs a roller coaster schedule, meaning that each cohort alternates the classroom their day begins in. One day, cohort A starts in the English classroom. The next day, the same cohort A will begin in the Spanish classroom. This allows for a consistent 50-50 model. 50% of the day is spent in each classroom speaking the designated language. When you walk into a Spanish classroom, 0 English is used. The new math curriculum adoption has provided our dual language teachers and students with math instructional materials and student workbooks in Spanish. Adding supplementary science materials in Spanish allows us to maximize Spanish instruction in every content. With the support of consultants and the determination of our teachers to provide our families with the best dual language program in the state, we're moving towards the gold standard implementation. Our goal is to provide different content instruction in each language, focusing on bridging important academic concepts and vocabulary. Students learn the same concept and academic vocabulary embedded into lessons in both languages. This is called content bridging. By applying what they have learned in both languages, students' understanding is more concrete, and it is in English and in Spanish. Tonight's brief model lesson provides a glimpse into content bridging. In the model lesson, you will see the Spanish teacher, Ms. Munoz, Focus on nouns in a grammar lesson. Students will provide examples of nouns. In the English lesson, students will identify nouns from a reading passage from our English language curriculum wonders and also aligns to a social studies standard of comparing various cultures that the class is exploring. Both teachers will embed Kagan structures to maximize student engagement. Ms. Munoz and Ms. Talbert are in their second year as the second grade dual language team. They intentionally plan for content bridging of key concepts. I will turn it over to our dual language teachers and our students.
Gracias, Principal Safranik. Buenas noches, niños. Buenas noches, señora Muñoz. ¿Ustedes se acuerdan que nosotros hemos estado aprendiendo acerca del sustantivo? Sí. ¿Y el sustantivo es? Personas, animales, cosas, lugares. Muy bien, muy bien. Vamos a hacer una actividad, Kegan, en la que usted va a pensar en un sustantivo y con su compañero usted va a compartir su sustantivo. ¿Está listo? Va a pensar un sustantivo, tiene 5 segundos. Piense en su sustantivo, piense en su sustantivo. Muy bien, muy bien. Ahora usted va a decirle a su compañero, mi sustantivo es, la A va a comenzar primero. Mi sustantivo es, y después la B contesta. ¿Está listo? Comience. Excelente, excelente. Bueno, ahora quiero que la letra B me dé un ejemplo de un sustantivo. La letra B. ¿Listo? A ver, Isabel. Papel es una cosa. Muy bien, muy bien. A ver, Ethan. Diga otra vez. Conejo es un animal. Muy bien, Ethan. A ver, la letra B. Sofía. Perro es un animal. Muy bien, Sofía. A ver, Valentina. Casa es un lugar. Muy bien. Y uno más, Adri. Mamá es una persona. Ay, pero estos niños son muy inteligentes. Entonces, acuérdense que el sustantivo es personas, animales, cosas, lugares. Muy bien, muy bien. Dese un fuerte aplauso, un fuerte aplauso.
Good job, friends. Good job. Last week we read Maria Celebrates Brazil, and we talked about different holidays. So today we're going to do Kagan, Think, Pair, Share. You are going to think about a noun from the story, from the holiday, that we can use on our circle map. I'm going to give you 5 thinking seconds. Ready? Okay, go ahead and share with your partner what your noun is. Very good, very good. Okay, I am going to call on my A friends, and you are going to give me your example. Emmanuel, what's your example? School, very good. Skylar, what's your example? And mom. Abby, what's your example? A parade, good job. And James, what is your example? A girl. Good job. We are going to end with our roller coaster cheer. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo! Good job.
In the spring of this past spring, we administered the first round of Avant Stamp E assessment to all of our dual language second grade students. The series of assessments are specifically designed for learners in dual language immersion programs and focus on reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The goal is for students to be at level 3, high novice or low intermediate at the end of second grade. In the data table, the green highlighted data represents the percent of students scoring at each level at or above the target proficiency. This year, we will use STAMP assessment for students in kindergarten through third grade. We were very proud of our first-year data and look forward to continuing progress. Reviewing district assessment data FastBridge, we see similar proficiency results in both math and ELA for dual language and non-dual language students. As we continue to refine the dual language program, we are focusing on a cohesive school-wide approach. This year, we added Spanish Special to our rotation. This class provides all of Santa Rosa students with an introduction to Spanish and to cultural exploration. Non-dual language students begin to learn the basic Spanish language, while our dual language students focus on conversational Spanish. All of our students explore the various cultures across the globe. We have a long way to go, but we are well on our way. To conclude this presentation, I would like to share a few key takeaways shared by 2 of our dual language parents. The program provides the tools and skills to be successful throughout the educational experience, and students are provided with skills they will need to achieve success throughout their lives. The program teaches students to think differently about learning, and students are excited every day to go to school. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the great work our teachers and students are doing. I will open it up for your feedback. Go ahead. Thank you. That was cool. They are. They're awesome. You guys are awesome.
Yes, I just want to echo that. Students, you did a phenomenal job. And parents, thank you for allowing your students to be a part of this premier program. My youngest was 1 year too late. She's 1 year too old to be able to join the dual language program, but it just makes my heart so happy to see that these students are excelling and that this program is available for our students in this community who choose to participate in it, because it's so important on so many levels. Knowing a second language is important, but learning a second language at this age and what it's going to do for their brain development and how smart you guys are. You guys are so smart because you're in this program. And I just want to thank Dr. Lotman and her cabinet for endeavoring, and Principal Safranek and the teachers for endeavoring on a new program like this, because doing something new is always scary and there's a lot of challenges. But we do it anyways, right? We do it anyways because the kids are worth it. So thank you. Thank you guys for showing us your awesome Spanish skills.
I do have one question. What challenges did you face starting it out, and what do you anticipate maybe as we continue to grow, because you still have a couple more grades to add on to this?
Starting out, really figuring out what the 50 model is and how to implement it. It's one thing to read about around. Yeah, we did get it. It took us a little bit, but yes. First year, we were doing a 50-50 model without truly being a 50-50 model. But like I said, I enter those Spanish-speaking classrooms, and I am afraid to speak in English because, you know. So that's one. And sometimes staffing is just finding the right person for the right team. So that is. And going forward, I think, we're well on our way. So we're filling holes. We're learning every year through more professional development. So whatever comes our way, we'll figure it out.
Well, thank you. And students, you did just an amazing job. I'm so impressed, and I wish I could learn how to speak Spanish. Maybe you can come teach me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We can take a 5-minute break if students want to leave, but our next agenda item is really important to our elementary schools. We're going to talk about our visitor aware. So you are invited to stay. You're invited to stay for the whole meeting if you'd like, but we understand if you'd like to leave.
I'm sorry I took her from you guys.
All right. That was amazing. Our next agenda item is going to be very informative. So for those who stuck around, for those that are sitting in the back, please feel free to move up on front. All right. It is item 4B, visitor aware. Ms. Pastor.
I'm struggling to follow that act. That's a tough act. But here goes. I can do
And she
that.
can. She's bilingual.
Which is why I'm so proud of them. Amazing teachers, amazing students. Excuse me. So good evening, Vice President Coutre, board members, Dr. Loatman, and guests. I'm here this evening to present information about Visitor Aware and our updated visitor and volunteer procedures. These changes are designed to enhance the experience for both our volunteers and our schools while aligning with our district's broader goals. As we continue to align our initiatives with the strategic plan, Visitor Aware aligns specifically with Goal 2, Access and Equity, and Goal 4, Community Pride. Visitor Aware plays a key role in ensuring that our schools remain safe and welcoming environments. And this system supports our strategic objectives of safety, efficiency, community engagement by modernizing how we manage and welcome visitors and volunteers onto our campuses. The initiative also supports our Portrait of a Graduate by creating an environment where students can thrive in safe and supportive spaces. We want to ensure that all visitors and volunteers are vetted and managed efficiently, and we want to foster a culture of safety and respect, which are critical components of the skills and attributes that we want to instill in our graduates. So the purpose of this shift away from previous procedures is to create a more customer-friendly experience for our visitors and volunteers while also enhancing security. Visitor Aware streamlines the check-in process for volunteers, making it easier and more efficient for them to engage with our schools. This not only enhances the volunteer experience, but also reduces administrative burdens on our staff, allowing them to focus more on supporting students. So we chose to go with single wire because we're focusing on using an existing system. Single wire, also known as Informacast, we've been using for quite some time. This is the vendor that provides us with the systems we use for our bells and intercoms. So with bells and intercoms well in place, we have now added the Visitor Aware tip line, transitioning away from a different vendor, very similar product. Visitor Manager for our volunteers, Drill Manager, which is simply a platform where principals record when they do their drills and their lockdowns. And then we are piloting the car line portion of Visitor Aware at Butterfield Elementary School, with a couple of elementary principals also interested in piloting that portion of Visitor Aware as well. There are some additional components that we can explore and possibly add on in the future. One is called Visitor Manager. That's where we can manage student tardies and early pickup, or employees such as, for example, we may have OT or related services that work at 3 or 4 of our schools, and we want to manage the employees checking in and out of a variety of different schools. There's also a reunification component that could be added at a later time, and then Field Trip Manager, where a teacher could send an email inviting volunteers to sign up through this program. So let's talk a bit about what the procedure looks like, and I'll walk you through and talk about how things are going. This is week 1 of the rollout. Under the new procedure, gaining access to the school through Visitor Aware involves just a few simple steps. First, the visitor or volunteer checks in at the front desk where a staff member assists them. We really want to have that customer-friendly experience, and so there are some schools that choose to have a program similar to this handled through a kiosk with a minimal interaction, and we really want to have that customer-friendly experience. So they're first greeted by a staff member. And then the visitor will put in some basic demographic information, their name, their phone, and using a barcode scanner, they will scan the front and the back of the driver's license. This will verify their identity and clearance status, and once approved, they'll receive a badge granting them access to the school. The badge will have their picture. That's part of the process. Here you see, I think this is a Butterfield staff helping a volunteer checking in and taking their picture for the first time, checking in. The process does involve a staff member to assist them. And the very first time that a parent registers, it does take perhaps up to 5 minutes, but then subsequent visits may be 60 seconds or less. I visited a couple of schools this week asking how things are going. As I stated earlier, this is week 1 of our implementation, and they said they haven't had a lot of practice with it yet, but they really appreciate how responsive our IT department is in training and helping to troubleshoot. We had a printer wasn't printing badges correctly, and we now have that corrected. So those sorts of things are getting worked through, and we find that our IT department is great, and the company has also been very responsive. They also said that it's very helpful when parents register at home if possible. It isn't necessary, but it does expedite the process, especially for that initial registration. And I also wanted to add, before I move on to that, regarding data security, Visitor Aware uses advanced encryption to securely transmit and store all personal data. The system's designed to protect that sensitive information, and only specific staff are involved in this process. Additionally, the visitor information is never sold, transferred, or accessible to any person or service outside of Visitor Aware. And some of those details went out in an FAQ page that was shared in a communication that went out recently with parents. So I want to thank you for your attention, and I'd like to open the floor for any questions or feedback that you may have about Visitor Aware.
I have a couple.
Yes.
I like the fact that it's encrypted and we're not selling, but do we have like a little sign or something that says that? Even though we put it out in an FAQ and we sent it out, maybe we have a little sign that, says that, this data is not being, it's encrypted, it's not being shared, just to make people feel a little bit more comfortable in giving their personal information, which they should anyways if they're coming to visit an elementary school or any school. What if they don't have a driver's license?
So if there's no state-issued ID, because we can work with, for example, a military identification, a passport. These are other types of identification that we can work with. If there's none of those types of identification available for that adult, a principal is going to contact me and we'll work through that situation.
Okay. So we experienced this at one of our school tours where we did do it. They had the kiosk. I will say, for a short person, my picture did not come out very good at all.
I can't guarantee our pictures are outstanding.
Of course. But in addition to getting that sticker when it printed up and having a volunteer badge, they texted our phones, and that's how we logged out when we left the building, because not everybody's going to remember to come back to the front office, sign out, and give you your badge back. The sticker, yeah, because it's a sticker. I mean, so is this going to also do something similar to that, where we can check out via the phone as well?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. That is a possibility. Also, just simply checking in with the front office and saying, I'm on my way out, can you check me out, can be handled that way. But another advantage of receiving that message through the visitor's phone is that if during the visit there is a lockdown or a fire drill, there'll be communication to those volunteers as well. And
Oh, I
so
like
that is an added level of integration of systems that we didn't have previously.
And I understand you said that we're just piloting the car line. Can you tell a little bit more about how that's work? How does that work?
Yes, so Ms. Fielding has been recording her times from week 1 and 2 before implementation. And we were averaging about 25 minutes towards the beginning, and we now are finished by, I believe, 4 o'clock. I don't have the times in front of me exactly, but she's reduced her time. And things are going well. They did have an advantage, an unfair advantage, and Butterfield was an ideal school to pilot because they were already using technology to manage their car line last year. They were just using a different, kind of a homegrown system that they had created, but they were used to looking at cell phones, looking at computer screens in order to see who was queued up in the cars. It was just a slightly different system.
Okay.
So can you explain to me how the tip line works?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Very similar to tip lines we've used in the past. One key difference is that there is a QR code and a number associated with each school. So the previous system, alerts would come in. There's a couple of district administrators, myself being one, that would receive the tip and then bring it to the attention of the principal that was mentioned in the message or what have you. This system is more efficient because I continue to get the alerts, but it also goes directly to the school that it came from. And so the tip line QR code is in posters in all of our schools, also on the webpage of every school, and then we also have one on the webpage for the district. And that's pretty much how it works,
Okay.
similar to the tip line we had previously.
Okay, all right. And then what is the response so far from parents and volunteers that are using this? Because I know when I went to the school on Friday, and it's used across their district, so everybody's used to it. I'm glad we're not doing the kiosk. It was very impersonal. It was like I'm walking into an elementary school, but it was kind of standoffish. So I prefer having the person there that actually talks to you like you're a human being. So I'm glad we're doing that. It was a little clumsy at first because I left my ID in my car. I'm not used to that. I mean, I know parents are used to signing into schools with their ID. And so it was a little awkward. So how are those that are using it responding to it?
So the schools that I've checked in this week have had just a handful of parents because this has been week 1. But I predict that we're really going to be able to improve that gap between when a person demonstrates interest in volunteering in our school and when we can get them to actually come in. In the previous system, we had them fill out an application through Talent Ed,
Right.
and the background process that we used took the same amount of time that it takes to vet employees. And so this is giving us a much quicker response, and it's able to bring that customer service more to the school level so that we can get them in classrooms helping, and hopefully we'll see more volunteers through this.
Okay. No, I mean, I like this system. I'm like, this is pretty clever when I was at this elementary school. It certainly made accountability easy. They knew exactly who was on their campus. And then getting the text message, are you still on campus or did you leave already? I'm like, oh, I forgot to say I'm leaving. But it was a good reminder in case somebody goes out one of the side doors, and doesn't go through the office. So I think I mean, I like that it's very accountable and it seemed easy. So I'll be curious to see what the cost is going to be to put this in all of our schools. So I'm sure that we'll look at that because I haven't seen that. But
The volunteer visitor aware is in all of our schools
okay,
currently.
okay,
And so, and the total cost, including hardware, was somewhere around $10,000.
okay.
It's a
not
feature of the system that we've
That
been
we already
using.
have.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was part of the value.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're just now implementing this next step, right?
Mhm.
Okay. No, like I say,
Ms. Lopez, did you have a question?
I do. I actually have a few. So if some of these need to be figured out and come back later, I'm fine with that. I understand the why, and I got thinking about, I'm a volunteer at our school. I have my fingerprint clearance card. I know that when you get your fingerprint clearance card, it's good for like 6 or 9 years, and anything can happen and you wouldn't know, and I still have a fingerprint card, right? So I've done it. I went to MES, we worked together. That was where the printer didn't work the first day. And then I went back today and we did it again.
Okay.
We figured it out. And when I say these things or ask these questions, please know that I know it's new. And I know there's an adjustment period and a training period and all of these things. By the way, thank you, MES, for letting me play and try and do. So I'll start, the first question is, you said it's secure, but when I read that flyer that went out about it, it says it's stored forever. My information is stored forever unless the contract, or I'm assuming MUSD, requests for that information to be destroyed. So as a parent, I don't like knowing that my information is stored forever somewhere. I get letters all the time saying there's been a hack and my data's been leaked. And this is one more thing I have to worry about, and I don't like that part. The other thing that I questioned is when parents leave, right, and they're no longer, and we're still holding on to all this data, how much space is that taking up? Is there something in place to get rid of that, go through it, delete all of that? Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to end? Like, I don't know, should I just keep going? Okay. Okay, I'll just get them all out, so. The other thing I found, I love the app thing though. Like, I love it. It looks, I don't know if anybody can see
QR
that,
code.
but it's a QR code, right? I can't say, and I know it's new when I say this, so I'm curious as we go on if I will feel the same way about it. I see no difference in time or customer service because they are already very customer service oriented in waiting for me to flash this versus just give me the clipboard and I can stand behind all the parents that need help sign in and I'm done versus waiting for that line to go down so now I can show my QR code, right? So there's some questions I have around speed and how many hands involved. Is it really quicker? But again, new, I'm not saying anything, it's not a bad thing. This was my ID badge. I asked them to void it out so that I could take it off property, but you would usually give this back. But I just wanted to show for any parents that were still around, this is the badge. It has my picture on it. It says visitor, it's kind of cool. I felt privileged. I was like, heck yeah, I am badged now, right? And we had a problem last year that all of our like volunteer tags, the PTO tag, they all disappeared. And those can get expensive to have to rebuy all the time. So I like the stickers. Back to securing, when it's sent, the information is sent and then sent back to you. The verification happens and sent back. How is that secure? I have a list, hang on, sorry. Oh, something else I ran into is there's a permanent volunteer versus a one-day volunteer. So because I'm there a lot, I picked permanent volunteer. I don't have any profile I can go to change that or to type in a date. Like, I will be here on this date and time. So now MES doesn't never know if I'm coming in or if I'm not coming in because I'm just a permanent volunteer. I can go in and start over again, but then I'm listed multiple times in the system.
Okay.
I did download an app. I was told there was no app after I downloaded the app, but there is an app. But there is nothing within the app. And so I'm wondering if all of these things might be a little easier if it was in the app and then parents would have a profile to go into to list the days or when they're coming, that kind of a thing, just a suggestion. Sorry, turn the page. I'm almost done, I swear. I'm so sorry. And how often are the security checks done? Okay, so I signed up as a permanent volunteer, right? And I did it Monday, and then I did it again today. Did it do 2 separate checks, or is it only, if I'm a permanent volunteer, did it only do it that one time? And now I'm good for the whole year, which kind of is, I think, opposite of the purpose of making sure that each time someone enters our school, they are good to go and safe to be there and have a purpose, right? And what happens if the power goes out? We go back to signing in, but what about those people that are already on our campus? How do we know they're there? We can't get on a computer. We can't get on anything. If something happens and they can't access that, what is the backup to show what visitors are on the property? And I think my last one was, and just a side note, just information for you. I just had to do this 3 different times. DPS just launched their brand new website, and any employer can sign up as an employer, and you get a code as an employer. And you can tell any parent or anyone, go to DPS and fill out their form. They enter the code from the entity, right? MUSD, whatever company, and it immediately checks and sends you the information, and then the information is gone. So you get the immediate, they're good to go, whatever issue, no issue, they're safe to be on campus, and go on. And so I'm thinking, why don't we use maybe some other things to help with that? So those are my questions. That is what I have found out. Did I miss anything? Hopefully I didn't miss.
Well, actually, you triggered a question that I had. So when we have school assemblies, you're going to have hundreds of parents coming in to go for this assembly. How are we going to manage that? Because if they all have to stand in line to get a computer sticker, that may be problematic.
So let me start first with some of your more technical questions, Member Lopez. They're great questions.
Okay, I was like, don't hate me, please.
No, they truly are. And some are questions that our IT department can help us with, and some that I was sort of hearing some possible suggestions. One thing I love about working with this particular vendor is that the developer is local, and he's actually come out here to Maricopa to train us.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And very responsive. And so if we have suggestions such as you were saying you couldn't change your preference between being a more frequent volunteer to coming on a specific date.
Permanent versus specific.
They've been great in taking that sort of feedback and working with us. Some of your other questions sort of border on some security information that I've talked about with principals, and I will be happy to follow up with all of the board members in email, but because we want to keep certain security aspects private, I won't share that in this particular meeting. And then lastly, your question. So since we are new, what I've been telling principals as we've been talking about those large events like when Santa Cruz had the Nutcracker or we're going to have a turkey trot is that we're going to continue with the same procedures that we've had. They might perhaps report directly to the multipurpose room where that event is taking place, and it's evening, it's after hours, we aren't going to do it. As we become more efficient, we can learn more about how to batch approve people, but in all instances, especially instances where we have a lot of people on our campus, it's very important that we have situational awareness and just good safety tips going on. So we won't be doing this process for everyone when we have hundreds coming. But it's a good question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you so much. I'm excited for this, and I'm glad we're able to make this a little bit better, and I like the fact that it's not a kiosk, really, truly do. So, thank you. Especially if you're like 5'2" and you're trying to get to that camera, it was bad. Showed all the chins. I was like, oh, bad news. All right, let's move on to the call to the public and try to forget about this. Okay. We do have one speaker card, so I have to read this. Members of the board may not discuss items that are specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38431, action taken as a result of the public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate, pursuant to Board Procedure 3-203. And our speaker card is Rosemarie Ferenda.
Good evening to all of you. I'm Rosemarie Ferenda. I'm better known as Axel's mama or Ro. I have addressed the board of Dr. Lotman a year ago out of sheer desperation after our son Axel in his second year of school was a victim of several assaults. There was also a strong lacking in communication within the ESS department under the current director, Lindsay Slover. I'm returning today with a better understanding of MUSD and its workings. However, there are profound concerns of safety issues and, more personally, the flagrant realization that our son and others within ESS are not receiving the education that they attend school for. Example, Axel's IEP was not followed last year. His MET was inadequately written and categorized inaccurately, and it took all of last year to get that handled. Due to Axel's medically complex history of a rare primary diagnosis, along with 7 craniofacial surgeries, we as his parents are fully aware that his journey is far from ordinary. We do, however, presume competence, and we are grace-giving individuals. At this time, that has been mistaken for weakness and credulous. At the hands of the current ESS director, there is no more time to minimally staff the structured learning classrooms, creating for safety issues. It is unacceptable to provide teachers with curriculum late in the year to be able to teach, or expect principals to take on and assume Lindsay's role overseeing these programs. Our educators across the board deserve to be supported, praised, communicated with, and sustained for the whole year, because our children deserve that much more. In closing, I wish to applaud Dr. Hassan, the SPED and ESS staff at Saddleback, the teachers and PARs for their efforts in working in such inept conditions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, that moves us on to item 6, bless you, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Lisa, I have a motion, a second?
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Anna Marie Noor,
Aye.
Tori Anderson,
Aye.
Patty Coutray.
Aye. All right, well, we are on to our action items. 7A, discussion and possible approval of the personnel schedule. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you, Vice President Coutray, members of the board, and Dr. Lobman. You have the schedule in front of you tonight. I'll entertain any questions you have at this point in time.
Mr. Beckett.
Vice President
This
Couturier.
is always my fun part. First off, I do want to thank, I had emailed Dr. Lotman several questions regarding the HR schedule, and I appreciate the quick response and some of the things that were fixed that were like minor grammatical errors, and so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And also the explanation, because I did question about number 11 on the HR schedule, the non-CDL driver position. So I did appreciate the fact that we want to get that certified so that even if they're driving not a bus, but they have students in it, that they're certified for that. I think that was pretty awesome. I do have a couple of issues, though, and two things that I can't support. So we have a new position that was the administrative assistant for technology. Not saying that that job is not needed. I believe it is needed. But when I inquired about what level of admin assistants, because we have several levels, we have 1, 2, 3, and I think an executive level of administrative assistants. I was told that that would be the same level as our middle school and high school principals, which is a level 2. That's a 12-month position. So it would state that a level 2 would be needed. The position that is being requested for technology is a 9-month position at the same compensation level of a 12-month. And so I want to make sure that we're being equitable, and that doesn't appear to be equitable. And I also don't want to give the impression that because it's a district office position, it's going to be treated differently and paid at a higher rate instead of being a 12-month. If it was a 12-month position, I wouldn't have an issue with it, but it's a 9-month position. The other item I had is on item 24 of the HR schedule. It's a new position, a new hire, but it's replacing someone who was an admin assistant 2, and now it's an admin assistant 3. So I did inquire about when this position was promoted to a higher position and a higher salary range. And I was told that back in February when we did some reclassifications of positions. So I did go back and I looked at both of the agendas, and it wasn't on there. And if it had been on there, but this position was still an admin assistant 2 when this person left last month. So it was not promoted back when we did it in February. It was still the same level because she departed as admin assistant level 2. And our procedures say that whenever we do something like that, and this is procedural, okay, that promotion has to be done, has to have board approval before we can promote that person. And I would like to see what the difference of admin 2 for that position and why it's justified for admin 3. And so I did not see that, and that's a procedural thing that we did not follow. I don't want to hold up this HR schedule whatsoever, but I would be happy to take those 2 items off and approve the HR schedule without those 2 line items.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, if it's not going to mess up hiring these people, are they already working?
They are.
One of them is. One of the positions is already working, and it was in February of '23 that, at the board's request, we analyze all of the classified positions comparative to other districts in Pinal County and in the surrounding districts, and there were dozens of changes that we made, and they were increases so that we would be competitive and comparable. And this was one of them. Some of them jumped like 10 levels so that we would be comparative. So I think that this prompts us certainly to, and this, again, this is a year and 6 months ago. It's a long time ago. We had to roll back the Rolodex. So it just taking a second look at these, at the approval, the documents that were approved, certainly reveals some cleanup that we need to do, this being one of them. So this person who is leaving this position was hired as a 2, but she's leaving as a 3 because she was in the process of that approval. she was already on. Not this person that's in the position that we want to include in this position, but
But when
The-
we approved the transfer, the reclassification, it specifically said admin assistant two, when she was reclassified from that position to the business department.
And that was an error.
because they were looking at the original hire. She was originally hired as a 2 prior to the change. So that's what they looked at, instead of looking at her new title of 3.
Prior to us updating everything.
Right.
Exactly. And that is the
Okay.
super fine tooth comb that I appreciate, that we will, that we can go back and look at.
Okay, so I'm
I
okay with that
appreciate
one,
that very
but,
much.
Is that number 24?
yeah, I'm okay
Okay.
with that one then, but I really,
So 13 needs
I,
some
I
clarification.
want it, yeah.
That's fine.
I really think that needs to be looked at a little bit.
Well, going from a 9-month to 12-month, that needs to be cleaned up a little bit.
Well, I think, yeah, it needs to be equitable for what those people are being.
So,
requested.
I mean, those are good points, and I'm fine with approving the HR schedule, taking out number 13,
Okay.
and bringing that back at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Could I ask
Second.
for clarification? Are you asking me to bring this back as a 12-month position? Again,
Either way, just whatever it is.
I think you need to take a look at the job description. Does it need to be a 12-month? If not, then it needs to remain a 9-month, and it's an admin 1, not an admin 2.
And again, if I can just briefly explain, on the administrative, on the classified compensation plan, we have 3 different levels of administrative assistant. The jobs are the same. They're all the same skill set, the same expectation, tasks, those do not change. It's who they're supporting. Admin level 1 is an elementary, admin 2, middle school, high school, and departmental, and admin 3 is for our assistant superintendents. That's what the decision was made back in '03 to support our administrators here. So really, the position is not changing, it's just who they're working with and the level of support needed in that particular department or school site.
So I guess what I'm looking for is just clarification. Is it a 9-month position or a 12-month position? That's all I'm looking for.
Right.
So if you can clarify that and bring it back on the next HR schedule, that would make me happy.
And once again, if I could just, I don't want to be too bold about this, but the 9-month positions it's a work calendar thing. It has nothing to do with the classification of the
Right.
work being done by that person. We identified 9-month that we didn't need them for the other 3 months because over the course of the summer, we didn't need that level of support in the technology department.
Right.
Again, if
So
we're going
all,
to possibly go to a 12-month position, I'm happy to bring that back as a 12-month role.
I think maybe take a look at that, because I think that department could probably benefit from a
Not listed as a 9-month.
12-month support, because their work does not stop just because school ends. They're busy getting computers, and they're answering questions, and they're trying to track down chargers. So I think, take a look at that and then bring it back.
Certainly.
And so we have a motion to approve number 13.
Wait, can I ask one
Yes, you
more
can.
clarifying
Yes, you
question?
can.
But because regardless if they're a 9-month, so let's say they're an admin 2 and they're a 9-month or a 12-month, that's just based on the job, but they're still getting the same same hourly pay?
That's correct. So a 9-month position is not going to earn as much as a 12-month position.
Right.
Simply
So
because
it doesn't, like an admin 2 who works 12 months is going to get paid more than an admin 2 who works 9 months.
Correct.
Correct.
So why does it matter?
Because it's already listed as a 9-month position.
That's what they wanted us.
Right.
But I think, so we don't have any admin 1 positions at the high school,
No, those are all admin 2s.
and they're,
I'm sorry, it's because it's at the high school?
It's because it's a middle school and high school, the feeling was that those responsibilities are more.
no, I just have an issue with that anyways. I think,
But Patty, I'm trying to, or
no, because
Vice President
because
Cottrell.
no, it's okay. It's strictly because when you're looking at it from the outside, it's a 9-month position. It's not a high school principal it's almost, and I don't want people to think that because it's at the district office, they're going to get a higher rate of pay versus.
But they're not. They're not getting a higher rate of pay,
They're not
Vice President
getting
Cotray. They're getting the same rate of pay as the admin 2 at a high school.
Do you know offhand what the pay is for an admin 2, admin 3, and admin 1?
Yeah,
I'd be happy to send that information to the board.
it's a range
Based on experience. and
based on
years.
experience.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Beckett, when I read this, you want this number 13 to be a 9-month employee.
That was the ask
Okay.
from technology, and cabinet approved that.
Okay,
the
and that's what
recommendation.
it's listed on the HR
It is.
schedule. So, for me, I would like to amend my motion and to approve the HR schedule as written.
Okay.
Second.
Lisa, I have a motion second.
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Anna Marie Noor,
Aye.
Tori Anderson,
Aye.
Patty Cotray.
Nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. Item 7B, approve the district qualified educators for the 24-25 school year. Mr. Beckett, you're up again.
Thank you. You have our list in front of you tonight. I believe in the information section on the agenda item, you'll see the rationale behind that. It's not only board policy, but also statute, that the board has the authority to grant the status to our qualified evaluators, and you have a list in front of you for all of our school sites as well as some district office staff. Asking for your approval.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Have a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Lisa, I have a motion and a second.
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Anna Marie Noor,
Aye.
Tori Anderson,
Aye.
Patty Cotray.
Aye.
Thank you.
Awesome. That gets us to our last item, adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Lisa?
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Anna Marie Noor,
Aye.
Tori Anderson.
Aye.
Patty Cotray.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned, 7:39. Thank you.
Very nice. We can still work through some details. I think part of the.
This HR debacle, this stuff has got to get cleaned up. We
I
can't
agree.
continue to have these mistakes.
And because